Hello and welcome to another Sonic Lab. This is Ableton Live. This is a track I've been working on, but more importantly, this is the brand new Samsung CJ89 49-inch super wide curved monitor, which is massive, 49 inches from corner to corner. It's also got this curved approach, which means that when you're looking at it, the quality of, it's matched to the shape of your eyes, so you're not kind of like missing any peripheral. It keeps it sort of wrap around. It's not a new thing, I suppose. We've seen curved monitors before, and lots of audio professionals are using them, and that's basically comes down to workflow and workspace. And this Samsung got in touch with us and said that they were trying to kind of encourage people to look at it from a sort of DAW point of view. One of the employees there used to work for a music technology company, and he was kind of championing that. And so they sent me one, and it is massive. And it really is a big old thing. Looks amazing. The actual resolution is 4K in the left to right, so you've got two 1080 size displays and one 1080 high. So effectively, if you had this in 4K, it'd be twice the height. But this is designed really for the desktop, and it's perfect, really, as you can see here on Ableton Live, to be to show you kind of the entire timeline and workspace. And of course, if I tab here, I can flip between. I've got the mixer and the sessions on this. In fact, if I turn the brightness up, you'll probably be able to see that a bit better. On this monitor, tabbing takes me to the other. So I've got these two views, but I've also got a Reaper session here, which I will throw up here. And this is, again, full timeline. And we've also got the, if I play this, it might work. Let's have a look. But it gives me sort of a whole view of the entire song. Plus I've got a little bit of, let's see if I can play that. Yeah, there we go. Plus I've got a spectrum analyzer here, and then I've got my mixer on this window here. This again is another track of mine. But I wanted to show you really how it worked with a couple of DAWs. It's a really impressive thing. I mean, when it first arrived, it was massive. It comes in a box that's kind of the size of a wardrobe, so when you get it delivered, you're going to need to make sure you've got someone to help you put it in place. And the thing is, I mean, looking at it here, it takes a lot of space up on the desk, but that's the idea, really. I mean, we all use monitors a hell of a lot in our work. If we're working in music, I've been using this on the NLE for editing video as well, and it's really good because I get a big timeline plus a preview window and all kinds of stuff on it, and it gives me this really massive working space. And it's not big. I mean, as I said, it could be 4K, but if it was 4K, it'd be right up here. So in terms of where I want to position it, it would actually, I'd be looking up and down a bit, and I like to kind of keep things in one plane for myself. If I'm sort of having to search for things, I find it a little bit difficult. Should point out this thing comes on a stand, which you can raise and lower. That's the highest it comes to, which kind of introduces one issue that might be a problem for some of you. I've just got a monitor here, and you can see it doesn't quite clear just this little monitor. I mean, I can put them left and right of this, but it might be a bit too wide depending on how close you are to it. However, there is a Visa mount on the back, which means that you can put it much further up and have your near fields kind of close for desktop work, so that could work as well. The other thing that's really sort of unique, I suppose, about this is it has USB-C connectivity, which means it hooks directly up to a Mac in this case. This is 15-inch 2017 MacBook Pro. I've got a single cable going into the monitor, and that's giving me this large screen, but it's also powering this guy, so I'm getting the power I need. Don't have any other cables, and in this case I've added my hard drive. There's a USB 3 socket and two USB 2 sockets, so I'm running the entire session sort of through the hub. I wouldn't recommend that necessarily, because what happens is, what I'll show you, there are other inputs as well. We've also got a DisplayPort input, there are three USB-C inputs. You've got two USB-C sources plus a USB for the hub, and that's quite interesting because that enables you to have a kind of KVR switch, so you could have a keyboard and a mouse connected and a couple of computers, possibly up to 3 or 4, I suppose, if you've got two USB-Cs, DisplayPort and an HDMI, and flipping them you can set it up so that it routes the USB to the host computer. So depending on how you've hooked it up, you can actually have it like a sort of mini KVR switch. But if you do that with a hard drive connected, it drops the connection, so you want to watch out for that. I'm going to do this, I'm going to take the chance, because the other thing that's really cool about this monitor is we've got this, like we say, this 3000, what is it? I've got the specs here. It's 3840 pixels by 1080. But I've also got the ability to go picture by picture, so that's 2. So on this Mac here, I've also got a dongle, which what I'm doing is I'm plugging an HDMI dongle in, which now that allows me to run this monitor in picture by picture mode. We won't see it just yet. So now pressing picture by picture, and I've had to do a little bit of arrangement of the monitors on the Mac just to get them in the right way. So my mouse goes left to right across the boundary and then down to this monitor here. And I've got Reaper again in this window, and on this side I've just got a web browser in full screen, which is in fact the page for the CJ89 monitor. One thing I will mention, the USB-C cable that comes with in the box, which I didn't actually discover was there, as it was tucked inside with the mains cables, is the only one I could find that worked as a direct connectivity mode. I did buy myself another USB-C cable, but this isn't the right one. It doesn't have enough bandwidth in the actual cable part, so you need to make sure you're using the right USB-C cable. I also tried the one that comes with the Mac from the power supply into the Mac. That didn't work either. It's enough only really to hold power. So if you're wondering why it perhaps doesn't work, you definitely need to get a high quality USB-C to USB-C cable, and they're harder to find than you might imagine. I tried twice, and in the end the only one that worked was with the unit. And I can also set it up so that when I switch sources, I can map specific USB inputs to the specific sources, so I can use it like a KVR switch. So I might have a PC on this side and a Mac on this side, keyboard and mouse connected to this, so when I switch, it allows me then to kind of control whichever computer I particularly want to. One thing that's quite annoying, certainly on the Mac, is if I now wanted to change modes, which I will show you this because we can also do a picture by picture, which is, if I just go menu, picture by picture, and I can do the size, and I can set a picture by picture. I'll switch that, so that means we're now picture in picture. Don't know how it's going to come up. Right, so we got, I think there's a picture in picture, but it messes up. The Mac doesn't seem to be able to handle multiple resolutions and remember configurations. On the PC, it's much more straightforward. I could do stuff like, if I go back to my, let's see if it comes back, because what will probably happen now is I switch back to my picture by picture mode, and it probably won't come back as I had it. It will come back slightly differently. Oh no, it does come back, sort of, but now half my stuff's missing. But the one thing that on a PC that's quite cool that you can do, yeah, it changes the arrangement of the screens. The Mac just doesn't remember that kind of stuff. And also, the other thing that you can't do, on a PC, you can take maybe a window and drag it across the boundary. So it effectively can be like a stretched desktop or two separate desktops, which you can have windows to kind of expand. You can't do that on a Mac for some reason, and that's just a limitation of, I don't know whether it's this Mac or Macs in general. They've made it a little harder to manage the desktop space in the way that you want. And like I say, quite often you switch modes and your monitor arrangements in the arrangement window on the Mac is all cocked up, and it's really quite annoying and quite hard to demonstrate when you're trying to show how easy it is. But I will say this monitor is a great addition. I mean, once you've figured out how you can fit it in, perhaps with your near-field monitors, mounting issues, that sort of thing, it will really, I hate to say revolutionise, but it does really change the way that you work and you interact, because for so long, you know, we spend such a lot of time in front of computers. It's worth, I think, investing in something that will actually allow you to get the most out of your time that you do spend in front of a computer, rather than being frustrated and sort of peering in. And that's something that's very appealing. This does come at a price, however. I mean, this is 899 quid, so it's a seriously expensive monitor. I feel perhaps it's a little bit on the high side, but I'm presuming it's all that extra USB and port switching and side of things that adds to the price. I mean, it can't be underestimated how handy it is just to be able to plug one cable in and have the whole thing kind of come up in such a massive screen. And it's one of the, yes, it is to a degree a luxury, and you could buy a much cheaper just 4K monitor and have all of that screen real estate, assuming your video card will support it. But there's something about this kind of curved extra wide which really works nicely with the NLE and the DAW being able to see an entire arrangement rather than having to scroll all the time. So it's one of those things that you kind of think, do I need it? You probably don't need it. I mean, you know, you could presumably do stuff on your phone if you chose, but seeing as you work on your computer and you want a lot of screen real estate, it's definitely something to check out, even if it's maybe not this one. They do other different flavors which are different prices. But for this guy, yeah, you're paying for the luxury of this really rather splendid screen. Anyway, that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. That was the Samsung CJ89 49-inch ultra-wide curved display. See you next time.